In the last 48 hours, there has been fresh violence in Manipur. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo story. Our special focus of the situation in Manipur continues as the crisis enters its fifth month. Now, fault lines are being drawn still between both communities, and in both communities, there are civilians who are armed. There are thousands of weapons that are in civilian control, including not just automatic weapons, but high caliber weapons like mortars and rocket launchers. Even as fresh violence erupts, it is in very challenging situation for the army that is being dragged into the center of many of these ethnic clashes and the ongoing debates in Manipur. The Editors Guild and its report also finds itself at the receiving end of attack, in particular from leaders of the Meitei community. Now, the Meitei community and its coordinating group is asking the government to take action. In fact, in a press statement that makes many different allegations around the Editors Guild report, the statement ends by warning if the government doesn't act, then the people of Manipur, that's what the statement says, but this is coming from a coordinating committee of the Meitei community, the people will be forced to act. To understand what exactly is going on in Manipur, let's introduce our guest today. We're joined by Khuraijam Athouba. He is a community leader of the Meitei community. He is also a key leader of the COCOMI group that has issued this statement warning the government to act or else. Thank you very much, Mr. Athouba. Let me start by asking you, how do you describe the situation on the ground today? We are now in month 5 of this crisis. We know there's been fresh violence in the last 48 hours. How do you define the situation? How do you describe it today? Can you unmute yourself, please? Sir, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay. Am I audible now? Before responding to what you have just asked, let me clarify one thing that myself, I might belong to the Meitei community, but I am not a Meitei leader. I am the leader. We work for the interest of the state of Manipur, and we work at the interest of every ethnic communities that coexist with the people of Manipur together. Number one. Number two, coming to the point that you have just made, uh, I think today also we are experiencing some sort of sporadic incidents somewhere in Bishnupur district again. And I think yesterday and day before yesterday, there were also some small incident in Imphal West area and certain parts also. Uh, as per our experience till date, I think the number of security personnels, both from the state and the center, which has been deployed in the state over the past, I think, more than 3 months, 4 months now, I think. So there is enough security personnel deployed. I think it must have crossed around altogether. It must be around 70,000 somewhere. So what actually the security deployments are doing on ground is quite mystery to us till date, because uh, they have been just maintaining the what do you say a position where even if both side of the wearing groups are confronting each other, there is no question of controlling and restraining any of the people who are provoking, or groups miscreants who are shooting on either side. So if this keeps continuing, then there is no point of deploying such a huge number of
But can I ask you? Can I ask you on that, not to interrupt you, Mr. Athouba, but I've been speaking to several military veterans, and their answer to this is one, that you see, this is not an insurgency. This is two groups of Indian citizens who are clashing with each other. So the army or the security personnel cannot use force. At the most, they can use tear gas shells. So when you say, what are they doing? Why aren't they doing something? What do you think they can do? They cannot open fire. They cannot use force. You know as well as I do that when the army has previously clashed, for example, with women protesters, in one instance, it's even released in a statement, they said 12 militants. In other cases, soldiers of the army have been asked to show their ID cards by protesters before they've been allowed to move forward on the highway. So when you say what are the security forces doing, what do you expect them to do that according to you they're not doing?
See, Barkha, when you say that, uh, both sides of the people who are engaging in this violent gunfights are civilians. I think you are wrong in many sense. Even I think, see, from the side of these cookie communities, those majority of the primary actors who are involved are all cadres of several cookie militant groups. Several of them are Chin cookie narco terrorist groups, and several of them are cadres of the organizations of the suspension of operation agreement signed groups. What do you think about ZRA? The flags has been flying all over the so-called cookie-dominated, hill areas. You have seen it, but you still don't want to recognize it. Then how are we going to move forward? From the other side, there might be certain elements which is quite suspicious in a way, but majority of the people who are engaging from the other side, they don't have their own weapons, so there were certain instances where weapons are being looted from the security's armed court. You know it, but there wasn't any massive looting of arms from the hill areas. There were some small incident numbering around 100 or 150 or 200,
So,
but the rate, the scale of attacks carried out from the hills using sophisticated weapons, several photographs, videos has already come out, but your channel itself has run out a video where only barrel guns were being displayed. You don't care to even record or come across all those. They must be hiding from your this thing, from your reporting,
no,
but in real sense.
let me tell you that you're talking, of course, about I think the Pumpi gun, which when I was in the cookie dominated areas, there were young men who showed me. Can we show those pictures, please? There were young men who showed me this particular Pumpi gun that they said that they had made themselves. But equally, you seem to be saying, not these pictures, please. Can we play the pictures of the Pumpi gun that we were shown? But equally, when we met the paddy farmers in the Meitei side, they had guns. Now you're saying the Meiteis have been forced to loot guns because the cookies have more guns. Is that what you're saying?
In a way, yes.
But what is the
What is
solution?
the solution?
No, that's what I'm saying. When you say that these the central security forces which are being deployed should first try to control those primary actors, insurgent or militant groups from the cookie side, those Su cadres, those ZRA, cadres, those people who are using sniper rifles, AK-47s and M16 rifles. I will show you the picture. I can send you picture right now where the cadres of militants with full combat dress, holding sophisticated arms, are being photographed, and behind there is a truck of the Assam Rifles or Indian military, olive green trucks are stationed there. How could you deny that fact? That has to be, clearly come out, and Indian security forces.
I want to react to that. I'm very uncomfortable with one thing. There's the pictures of the Pumpi gun that the cookie community showed us. But here is my understanding, and of course you will correct me if I'm wrong. I am not an expert on Manipur, but when I was on the ground in Manipur, what I saw were both communities had guns. The Meitei community had guns, the Kuki community had guns. Both communities are armed, both communities are firing at each other. In both cases, civilians have guns, and the police is standing by doing nothing. And I'm very uncomfortable with the army being pulled in, Mr. Athouba, with respect, into being pulled into the center of this. The army is operating without full AFSPA cover. Why are you making the army a target for your anger? Why are legislators talking about pulling back the Assam rifles?
Number one, you should go back and retrospect the the course of events and how these very issues of aggressive, actions being initiated in the year 2005. It is only the army who has nurtured and brought in several Kuki militants in the suspension of operations. You got my point. Then those Kuki militants, numbering around 25 different outfit groups, altogether they don't even come into a total number of 2,000. And no Kuki militant groups have had ever shot a bullet or ambushed an Indian army. And there were also leaders from across the border who is the Myanmar nationals, the leaders of ZRA, Mr. Thanglian Pao Guite. The Ministry of Home Affairs in 2019 has already written a letter to the state government of Manipur seeking the true identity of Thanglian Pao Guite, ZRA chairman. And he was even holding a passport, Indian foreign passport. So that has been, inquired. And those peoples are being brought into political negotiations with the government of India by the army. On what pretext can you invite a foreigner who are waging war against the Indian Union, holding arms and operating inside the territories of India, being brought into political negotiations in 2005? And that has been formalized in 2008.
Well, let me submit to you that actually.
No, let me complete, please.
Let me just brief interjection. Let me just say that you speak about the army encouraging militants and negotiating with them. Actually, no, it is the government, the Home Ministry, interlocutors who have been in talks with the Kuki-Zo groups, and we are even told that a peace accord was close to being announced, giving an autonomous territorial council to the Kuki people on the 8th of May. Just before that, the violence erupted. So surely the army is not politically autonomous, Mr. Athouba. You also know that. Any decision to negotiate with an armed group is the government's decision. It's not the army's decision.
I think we are missing the context of the discussion that we are trying to fix. How army is responsible is where I'm going to, bring up the context. So since 2008, Barkha, the army has been using those Kuki militants, which they nurtured and brought into political negotiations as a mercenaries, to use them in several other counter-insurgency operations in the hill areas of Manipur to tackle and fight with the non-Sioux groups like Meitei militants, the Naga militants, and several other militant groups. And because of that, since 2008 to 2020 or 23, it's a long 20 years of journey, Barkha. Therefore, they are quite familiar. And those Kuki militants, those narco-terrorist groups are not ordinary, revolutionary groups. They are narco-terrorists. They have been, protecting and operating several drug syndicates inside the territory of Manipur. They have been giving protections. That is why there is an upsurge of wide opium poppy cultivations in the hill areas of Manipur. And they have been, indulging in several other activities like illegal activities like, harboring in and bringing in of illegal immigrants from across the border. They have been building populations. All the issues that we are facing today because of, illegal immigrations, eviction, encroachment in the forest areas, and these issues of narco-terrorism, these are all byproduct of that very collusion or nexus between the army and the Kuki militants and their covert operations that has been carried out in the hills for so long. And the army camps are adjacent to several Kuki militant camps. And they know.
Basically,
don't keep unmuting without my consent. If you keep unmuting, then we don't have the reason for this debate anymore. Please let me complete my point. What I'm trying to say is, you will also be very much disagree with the kind of opium poppy cultivation that has been carried out in the hill areas of Manipur. I know you are against it. Assam Rifles or any other military that that is being having camps inside the hill areas where cookies are inhibiting, they have seen it, they have known it for tens of years that opium poppy cultivations are widespreadly carried out, and they have been protected and managed by the Kuki militants. How could they let that happen? That is the question, Barkha. The government in the power, those who are sitting in Delhi, they don't know that, they don't see that. It has to be investigated. That is my point. That is where the security personnel lost its trust from the people of Manipur. That is where the issue is.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question now? Can I ask a question now? Okay. I'm saying you have spoken, you have criticized the army. In my opinion, when we start dragging the Indian army into what is essentially an ethnic clash, we're entering a very dangerous turn in this conflict. But let me ask you, you speak about the armed Kuki groups. The Kukis speak about Meitei insurgents. They point to the Thawai Kuki killings, where your own group said, we are not responsible, there's a professional hand in it. When there is an allegation of Meitei insurgents, just like you're talking about Kuki insurgents, what is your response?
See, if they are so confident about their allegations, they should fight them. They should, use Indian army. They can do anything that they want. But why are they targeting the innocent civilians in the periphery fringe areas? Why are they targeting the farmers? Why are they doing that? Why are they burning the Meitei innocent villagers' houses? That is my point, Barkha. If they are not happy, if they say that Meitei insurgent groups or militants are involved, they can use any forces that they need. They can even invite the Indian army. They do it. That is what we are also saying. Use Indian army to control any kind of illegal armed activities, both in the hill areas as well as in the valley areas. We are not defending anyone. But if the Indian armies keep standing in the middle of it and watching the two warring groups fighting and killing each other, there is not going to have any peace. And people started losing confidence and trust from the way the Indian armies are operating. That is what our concern is.
Okay. Tell me now, what is the way forward? The point is, you have issued a statement, and you are also very upset about the Editors Guild report. You have ended that statement by saying that the government must act, and if the government doesn't act, you will. If we can go to the last sign, you say you will have no other option than to use all its might, empowered by the people of Manipur, to fight till justice is delivered to the people very soon. What does this statement mean, Mr. Athouba?
It's very clear. It's already written there. I don't know what more what more explanations you need from this very phrase. But yes, we are requesting the government to act accordingly. Now it is very crystal clear that EGI is being invited by the Indian Army, and they have been sponsored, their trips being sponsored by ITLF Media Cell. ITLF Media Cell is the propaganda group wing of the narco-terrorist groups. It's a narco fund, narco money, narco fund, narco-terror fund that's been used. We know it. And they are using that money to buy tickets and expenditures for EGI. And the purpose of EGI's visiting Manipur is an invitation from the Indian Army. So it has to be thoroughly investigated. We are not blaming the whole Indian Army organization, Barkha. We are saying that there are several Indian Army officers who are quite familiar and intimate with those narco-terrorist leaders and groups. They might be, earning profit. They might be enjoying profit together. They might be, earning bags of money.
But why are you making these allegations against the army? What is the basis to make these allegations against the army? You can disagree with the report. Why are you making this allegation against the army? The Editors Guild crowd-funded, on Twitter at least, that's what they said, that please contribute to our going. And initially the criticism by the Manipur journalists was that why are they crowdfunding? The ITLF acknowledgement, the mistake made where they said a Kuki house is burning, all of that, those are valid mistakes. But I'm a bit confused. Why are you all so against the army?
The purpose of EGI's visit, when the results came out, the reports were full of lies and fakes and concocted stories. I can bring out you every paras. I have all the datas. And that report is what Indian Army was influencing the EGI to produce. That is what we suspect. That is why we want the government of India to thoroughly investigate who actually initiated this idea of inviting EGIs to produce such kind of fact report, FAKE, fake report. It's full of lies and wrong informations, wrong facts, and they're publishing it so conveniently, and it's being sponsored by the ITLF media cells. So if you apply a little bit of your logic, you will definitely understand that there must be definitely some kind of nexus or some kind of collusion or some kind of common interest which needs to be thoroughly investigated, because Indian Army cannot invite an editors group in any ways, and influencing an editors organizations is also very much against the ethical practice of both the organizations.
But
And it's being
I have
sponsored by one of the wiring communities. How could you let that happen?
okay.
It should.
We will await the Editors Guild response on some of the allegations you have raised. But let me ask you, what is the way ahead? What is the way forward? There is already a police case against the Editors Guild. The Editors Guild has taken their fight to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will be the arbiter of this. Personally, I believe that the army that actually rescued civilians from both sides is operating with one hand tied behind its back. It doesn't have full AFSPA cover. You and I disagree on the army. I'm uncomfortable with the army being pulled into this conversation. But let me ask you, what is the way forward, sir? What is the way forward? What is the way forward?
Barkha, see, I have been engaging in this conflict, I think, since the 6th or 7th of May. And the activities about evacuating peoples and all, we have been giving 100% cooperations to the army right from day one when we start working on the field. We have given 100% cooperation to them. We have been meeting several Indian Army top officials, the IGAR South, all the brigadiers, the Eastern Command, the GOC of the 3 corps, every officials of the Indian Army top officers. We have been meeting them during the month of May. We have been suggesting, giving opinions, giving ideas and suggestions, what can be done, what is to be done, how it can be done. But they never acted. And it is only in the later part of the May and the first month of June, by that time, we clearly, in our last meeting, we clearly told them that if you are not going to act anything of what we suggest just to bring peace and harmony, we are not going to further have any discussions and sitting with you. That is what our last meeting was. Barkha, we supported and we cooperated with the Indian Army. But due course of time, there was an incident in the Imphal East district when the Indian Army Assam Rifle Jawan was shot dead from the bullets of Kuki Revolutionary Army from Saikul side. They were trying to attack the Meitei village. Assam Rifles were defending and they were being shot dead. But even at that cost, the Indian Army, the Assam Rifles didn't respond as per what people expect. They let the army died in vain. They didn't respond. When another incident happened in Sero of the Kaching district, 2 Indian Army personnel, one BSF Jawan and another one also succumbed to bullet injuries from the Kuki militants' bullet. They didn't respond. Why are they so patient to the Kuki militants' bullet is what we have been, people have been experiencing. And because of that, people started losing trust. And following that, the CO of that Sero camp, which is I think 39 or 37 Assam Rifles, their bulletproof vehicles went into the police station gate, and they blocked the gate, and there was also a huge confrontation between the state police and the Assam Rifles again. So these small incidents has created a big loss in the trust deficit. There was a big trust deficit.
What happened in Palel? in the last 48 hours, where the allegation is that you had armed miscreants coming dressed as police commandos wearing police uniforms. There, this has just happened in the last 40 in the last 2 3 days.
In that incident, also, innocent people died from the bullets of the Indian Army, Assam Rifles. No doubt, Assam Rifles have got some reports that Assam Rifles also got some injury from the bullets. But we don't know from
But
where it's so we don't have any evidence. But innocent people already died from the bullets of the Assam Rifle. So we cannot, you cannot, we are telling that this kind of small incidents is not going to help a long-term solution. What we ought to do is let's make our Indian security forces act towards those people who are actively engaging in this sort of violence, who are
you
roaming
you
around
you
with
you
sophisticated
you,
weapons
you
in both sides. We are not only asking about the hill areas or the plain
okay,
areas. We are
okay,
asking from both sides.
let me ask a last question. You have been, as you said, engaging in all the talks in this strife ever since it erupted. You have met with the Home Minister, you have met with army generals. What do you expect the center to do at this point? And if you say these are narco terrorists, these are Kuki militants, they say give us a separate administration. You say no separate administration. Your demand is NRC. I ask you in the end, what do you expect the center to do at this moment?
See, for now,
Mr. Athouba?
number one,
Yeah,
center
yeah.
has to cease these violent confrontations. Number one. First and foremost, the center has to cease these violent confrontations by using all their might. Number two, the center has to restore all the displaced people to their respective homes and secure their life and property. They should not simply let any individual or any person's, innocent people's life and property simply, put at stake. It should be secured. It is the onus of the responsibility of the existing government. It has to be done. And following that, we should also look forward to, uh, uh, some kind of activities where we can start rectifying all the past mistakes in terms of administrative anomalies that we have, irregularities that we have, several other chronic issues that we are having. We need to identify who are the natives, who are the foreigners, who are the refugees, who are the illegal immigrants. It has to be sorted out. Then only we can move further. So there will be some kind of short-term measures, mid-term measures, and long-term measures. It is how it can be proceeded. Therefore, as a short-term measures, number one priority is to seize all forms of gun violence that is being, erupting from time to time across the hill areas
Is this
and periphery areas of Manipur.
is the situation getting any better?
I think comparatively, it has improved a bit more than what's been happening in the past, a couple of months back. But there are still violence. Violence is violence. One person died means you cannot compare number of deaths. So I think even today there is also some information about some sporadic gunfights at
Yes,
Bishnupur area
yes.
and all. So it has to be contained and control, Barkha. It has to be contained and control, and it is only up to the capacity of the central forces, nobody else. Meitei cannot control Kuki right now. Kuki cannot control Meitei or anybody else. So it is the
Yeah,
government's
yeah.
forces that has to be used at the optimum level, and they seems to be given some kind of they've been given some kind of restraint in
Let
using
me
their yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying earlier also it's very difficult for security forces to use force on civilians, who are our own people. But let me ask you, suppose you met with Amit Shah. Suppose you had 2 minutes to talk directly to him. Mr. Thoba, if you had 2 minutes with the Prime Minister, what would you say to him?
No, I don't think these issues of Manipur can be discussed in 2 minutes. We will take
If you
several round
had
of
a
talks.
meeting, if you had a
No, no,
meeting with the Prime Minister, what would you want him to understand about the situation today?
first we will brief him the entire history of Manipur, how Manipur became part of India. It will start from there, and we have to start coming in with the rectification, the legacy of British administration. We need to brief him on that part also. We also need to brief him on the kind of administrative arrangement which is being completely based on ethnic lines. All these issues has to be discussed, then only they will understand. So we cannot sum up in 2 minutes. It's impossible for me. I don't know how you will do that, but there will be several round of talks required.
Okay. I hope there is a dialogue between communities. As you said in the beginning, you may be a Meitei, but you represent the people of Manipur. And I think you make the important point that there has to be a kind of disarming of the civilian population of weapons. That is the single most important thing that must happen immediately. Mr. Khuraijam, Athouba, it's a pleasure talking to you and learning your perspective of the situation. And as you said, while the situation has improved, there are still sporadic incidents of violence, and we are now in month 5, and this issue needs the urgent attention of the central government, as well as the media that has almost stopped in the national media covering this issue. So thank you very much, Mr. Khuraijam, Athouba, and we'll talk to you again and see how the situation develops. Take care, and see you soon.
Thank you, Barkha.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.